Hey guys, this is Caspi with Tape, and today you join me for episode 18 of Fall of Kerbin, and yes, it has been a while, but I've had exams, but they are done now, so we are back, and what are we doing? Well, we are dispatching a fighter squadron to go and deal with the incipient invasion at Osiris Bay. If you saw Penguin's last video, you will know that it's a pretty dark time for Cathenia. We've got a massive naval invasion mounting in the south. And in the north, well, there's an incipient ground invasion. There are tanks in Osiris Bay and a hell of a lot of AA defense. So that's what we're doing. We're dispatching this fighter squadron of 5 fighters to go in and take out the aircraft, because there are 2 fighters, 1 interceptor, and an attacker over at Osiris Bay, meaning that if we have any chance of getting some air support in there to kind of try and strafe out some tanks before we send our tanks in, we're going to need to destroy that air defense. So I'm sending 5 S4F Falcons to hopefully destroy the air defenses, because we cannot lose Asia's front and Osiris Bay, because just east of Osiris Bay, west? Yeah, just west of Osiris Bay is Osiris Fortress, where we are right now, which could be our final naval base if things don't go well. But now we just get a nice shot of the fighter squadron forming up after they've taken off and balanced speed a little bit. One of the fighters falls in there, that's making 3. The other 2 are about a kilometer behind, so they take a little while longer, but eventually they form up as well, forming our air wing to hopefully go and defend freedom in Cathenia, because these Cruolans are coming to oppress us, and we cannot allow this. So a little arrow of fighters will be heading out there to defend freedom. Anyway, so after a little flight, a long flight, and burning quite a bit of fuel, we do get over to Osiris Bay. I'm just flying over the bay now, waiting for those fighters to take off. We're going to drag them out over the bay so we don't have to deal with the AA guns, because there's also a huge number of AA guns there. There's a 76mm emplacement, a 40mm emplacement, and 3 20mm emplacements, which we do not need firing at us while we're fighting a bunch of fighters. Also, it'll reduce lag a little bit. So yeah, we're just going to let them take off and then pull out, and then turn around and attack them when they've separated a little bit. I'm thinking the interceptor will be much faster, so it'll be by itself, so hopefully we can nail that before we have to fight anything else. But I'm not sure, the AI pilot's a little bit janky, so we'll have to see, hope for the best. Anyway, now that we've got them in position, now that they're in chase, I dispatch the air wing. I release my wingmen to do as they will, to destroy the Cruolans, to wreak havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Now, at first I let the AI pilot control my plane, but as you'll see, that maybe wasn't the best idea. You can see I'm having a few control issues, but that's just kind of to be expected now. Annoyingly, the interceptor gets right past our line because it's so fast and so small, which makes it really hard to shoot. And the dogfight is, has started, which is kind of annoying. We didn't shoot anyone down on our little dive because that was kind of our advantage. And yeah. But anyway, you can see we're lighting them up now. We're armed with 5 50 caliber machine guns. I think all of these, except the attacker, have 20mm. You can actually see one of my Falcons has already been shot down, which isn't great. You can see some debris in the air right there. So now we're down to 4, so we've lost our numbers advantage. Luckily, one of theirs is an attacker, which shouldn't be too much of a problem. But it's not looking super great. This guy's taking some pot shots on one of these Falcons over there. Damn it, both our planes are called Falcons. I've been terrible at naming in this era, and Penguin keeps, being kind of annoyed by me using his names. It's by accident. Anyway, we turn to try and get some shots, but we see another Falcon explode and tumble towards the ground. That is now 3 Falcons left without any kills. And then another one is lit up, and it is down to just 2. So it's not going great. We haven't taken down anything so far, so I've decided that no, the AI pilot is not qualified to fly these planes. I will be flying my plane at least, to try and shoot down something. I'm not sure what happened, but you can see on the vessel switcher, one of Penguin's attackers did drop off, so we did get 1 kill for 3 deaths, which isn't great. But we've taken down their weakest plane. Now we just have the fighters to deal with, and it's 3 on 2, but now I have control, so I should have a decent chance of, taking out some things, hopefully. although maybe not so much, because as I'm flying this way, one of the fighters flies in, rips off my wing, and I tumble into the ground. And now it is 3-on-1, and I'm going to pilot this, obviously, because the AI pilot is not going to do a good job. These 20 mils on the enemy planes are pretty effective, but I think just generally, and we haven't had a ton of air combat, so I haven't really been tweaking my aircraft at all, and I think Penguin's fighters are superior. Which is not great, because we've always prided ourselves on the Cathenian air dominance, but it looks like that slipped away from me a little bit. But I will not give up, I will not surrender, and I do score my first hit. It actually isn't that big, but it rips off enough of the wing of that guy that he tumbles into the ground, well, to the sea. It looks like he actually lands safely, but he is out of the dogfight, so now it's just 2-on-1, which isn't ideal, but they're going to run out of ammo pretty soon, I think, is going to be my advantage. Because while the 20 mils are great, you can't carry a ton of ammo. 50 cals, I have 1,500 rounds. So yeah, I start chasing this other fighter because I don't really want to be shooting at the Swift, the interceptor, because it's kind of difficult. You can see occasionally my controls are locking up a little bit, but it's not too bad right now. And as day turns to night, I finally score a second kill as I rip off the wing, properly rip it off, so he will indeed die, of the final Falcon. So now it's just me versus the Swift, and I'm pretty sure the Swift is out of ammo, so that's pretty good. I try to get some shots off at it, but it's quite small, and as I said, there are some control issues. You can see it just randomly pitches occasionally, which usually actually isn't that bad when there's lots of targets, but when there's one small target, it's kind of difficult. And I'm using mouse aim flight mod here, trying to get some accurate shots, but you can see the controls lock up again. It's kind of annoying, and I'm just not able to take this guy down. He's too small, too fast, and I'm having issues with controls. But still, I think I pulled this back pretty well. It looked like the cards were down and we had lost, but we took out the attacker, both the fighters, for a loss of 4 fighters, but yeah. Anyway, I fire off the rest of my rounds, and then I decide to head home. I'm going to have to go pretty slowly because I'm running low on fuel, but the Swift maintains chase with me, and I'm pretty mad right now, so I'm just going to let him follow me until we get home, where I am limping home on just a little bit of fuel. He's still on my tail, you can see buzzing around, and I was like, well, you know, you can follow me home, bro. You don't have any bullets. I don't have any bullets. What's going to happen? Now, however, this was kind of shitty because there are 3 40mm emplacements there. But hey, if he's going to follow me home, then that's fine. He's going to get shot by these emplacements because I really don't want this guy hanging around when I'm strafing. So yeah, pretty successful. Not ideal. I was hoping to do better. I did go into this knowing that my fighters did have some problems. And I didn't expect it to be that much of a murder. We watched the Swift get ripped apart and almost me get hit by some 40mm flak. But yeah, he is torn apart nicely. And then we'll just go in for a landing. So yeah, I mean, we won, sort of. We outnumbered them and still lost the same as them, and only because I was piloting. And, you know, I'm not a fantastic pilot, as you could see. I did cut out a lot of me missing because mouse aim flight mods kind of exacerbates the control issues. But still, we have done what we came here to do. We have 5 fighters. We took out all the planes. The Pythons over there have somehow just kind of glitched out, but I relaunched them, and we're going to head in for some strafing. We send in the first one now because we can. There's no planes to fuck around with us, but there are quite a lot of emplacements, and this one's actually mostly going to be going for emplacements, not tanks, because we need to take out a few of the emplacements so that there's less anti-aircraft fire when we're shooting at the tanks with the other attacker, which will be coming in a little bit. So that's my goal here. I'm going to try and take out the 76mm and maybe one of the 40mm or one of the 20mm. And you can see I'm just kind of lining up here, taking a few rounds from the 76mm, that's the 3-inch gun. But I managed to avoid them and get some shots off with this 30mm, well, these 2 30mm cannons. Almost get shot, kind of buzz out, but it does look like we did get a kill. The 76mm is indeed dead. Now we just have to dive down below the building line so that these 20mm can't keep firing at me, because we have a lot more to shoot at and we don't want to die right now. Yes, I think Penguin learned his lesson from leaving his tanks alone in a city with just 1 emplacement last time, and has learned his lesson a bit, but we do find some firing solutions and take out one of the 20mm. It is quite hard to find firing solutions in a city, especially when you can't fly slowly over the city and look for firing solutions because you'll be shot at. Also, the light tanks have a slightly better chance of shooting me down than tank destroyers did because they actually have more maneuverable guns that fire quite quickly. We try to shoot one of the tanks, but it's actually behind a building, so I was just shooting a Cathenian building. But it's fine, we evacuated the city. Of course, there's no one here. Totally. Anyway, we get a little try to get a look, but then the AA guns start opening up on us, and the tank actually shoots us in the engine. As you can see, they actually can get some pretty accurate shots, and I'm ripped apart and tumbled into the ground. So not ideal, but I did kind of expect that this would be difficult. And we do have another attacker. These two are left over from last turn. By the way, that's why I have 5 fighters and 2 attackers. So we bring in the next attacker, lining up with, I think this is going to be my new attack path, I'm not sure, it's still hard to kind of see what's going on. The mouse aim flight mod is good for this kind of strafing, because, well, it's easy to aim. I actually find it's not super useful in dogfights when the controls lock up. I find it just makes it harder to control, but yeah, for now it's pretty good. So yeah, I'm just trying to shoot this Mamba, but it looks like it's actually tucked behind a building. Not a great angle for this. So I don't actually hit it, I don't think, which is a bit of a shame. But yes, this attacker will be aiming mostly for tanks, so that when the tanks roll in, they'll easily be able to, well, they'll have an easier time of getting through the city. I don't think I'll be able to kill all of the tanks with this attacker, annoyingly. But anyway, so after a little more flying, a little more strafing, we actually find a pretty good firing solution. It turns out this tank's in a corner. I don't get a hit then, because I think I was at slightly the wrong angle, but you can see that you can just about kind of see the tank. And we fly in some more, get some good shots off, and I think there should be an explosion in a second. Apparently not. Apparently that time I didn't hit him. This time, however, we go in, we get a much better solution, and there's the explosion. There we go, a nice hit. A damaged tank, not destroyed, but damage is fine. Then I start taking fire from somewhere, and it doesn't look like an AA gun, and I was like, what the hell? And it turns out the Falcon I shot down earlier, because I only shot a bit of its wing off, it landed safely and then took off again and started shooting at me. I must have just flown inside its load range when I was kind of lining up for a shot, and here it is, which was really surprising to me. I dispatched it very quickly. 30 mils against a plane are pretty deadly, but I was just like, what the fuck is that? And it just, yeah, took off from the ocean. Those are some hardy fighters. Respect to that guy, even though he is a Crew. Anyway, after that little charade, we do go back to some strafing. We actually do get a couple of good hits on that Mamba. I actually even check what's destroyed, but I can't really see. And we take a hit in the tail, but it doesn't destroy us. We dive low to avoid the AA fire as usual. And then find ourselves, once again, another firing solution on a different tank at the end of a street. One of the tanks I was firing at earlier, but with a slightly better angle. I open up with my 30mm, and you'll see in a second there's a huge amount of destruction. It looks like we may have almost destroyed that tank, but the AA fire comes in. My evasive maneuvers fail, my wing is ripped off, and we fall to the ground. You can see just how much AA fire there was there. So now we have to roll in the tanks. Yes, the tanks are here. They are ready to take back the city. There are still 5 enemy tanks and 3 emplacements, but 2 of those tanks are damaged. And I think my light tanks are superior, so we should be fine because they have a big slanted plate on the front, which is great for deflecting tank rounds. We find a 20mm emplacement almost instantly and dispatch it, although it actually doesn't look dead. For a second I thought it was and was just hesitating, but you can see it's still alive, so I need to fire some more. But yeah, as I was saying, I think these tanks are better in combat than the Kerbal light tanks because their front armor, while very small and hard to strafe, it turns out, is very thin and not particularly defensible against tank shells. So anyway, we form up our column again after that first little bit of destruction. We get this guy to go around the corner so that he can get into a flanking position, move through some other streets, because we need to sweep this city, not just kind of travel down one road. And it gives us more options for firing solutions. If we find a tank and don't think we can take it out from our current position, we have other tanks in other positions, so we're just lining this guy up in this street so that he can start sweeping down some other streets. But back at the front of the main column, we're moving this tank up fairly slowly, fairly gingerly, because there's a lot of corners. This is a pretty horrible bit of the city. There's loads of long streets and loads of potential firing solutions for enemies if they were really well thought out. You can see my flanker just there on the next street. I'm just rolling down. I haven't found anything yet. We've got another corner up here. Luckily there's space. The worst thing is at a crossroads when you have to look both ways. And yeah, it's not great. Nothing down that street, luckily. Coming up on the emplacement we killed. But we're going to halt here, bring up the rest of the column, and also move these tanks up here into a slightly different flanking position so that they can move down a different street. Because they've kind of hit a dead end here, so they're just going to go to the end of the street and move down there as well. It does split up the column a little bit, but I have 5 tanks here, so we should be fine. And yes, I brought a little bit of backup for him, because you never send a guy out by himself. Anyway, back with the main column after setting up the steering a little better so it can do the corners on the tight corners of the streets a little better. We move forward with the front of the column, looking around, terrified that something might shoot us. And as luck would have it, around this next corner, behind this emplacement actually, there is a Mamba, and it opens fire. But luckily, I get behind the flat gun before so that I can start returning fire at the same time. Most of his shots blocked, and I dispatch him fairly quickly, I may say. However, it turns out his gun is still attached to the cockpit, and my tank stopped firing for some reason. So he returns fire, but then my tank does quickly return fire using the same shitty maneuvers of having a gun attached to the cockpit, so it's kind of even, I guess, and we destroy him. A little annoying that that happened. I thought I'd won, but it turns out he did destroy me. But I destroyed him, so it's an eye for an eye, I guess. Anyway, after a bit of a quick save to get rid of some of that debris, because the lag was pretty bad. So we start moving up with the next tank in the column, and we find a Mamba almost instantly. It opens up on us, but we return fire fairly swiftly. And it looks like it got us first, though. Split our tank in 2, really got the jump on us. But we have softened up that front armor, so now we're going to move in with the final tank of this section of the column, and it's going to hopefully score a kill. I'm going to pull a hard turn so it's shooting at the front plate, which again is very thick and is slanted, so it deflects a lot of 20mm shots. I think these light tanks are actually really effective. I think my tank design has been surprisingly good in this series, in this era. Anyway, I turn around, get a couple of shots in, and he's dead before he can even open up on me. So that was fairly successful. Again, eye for an eye. We are down to 3 enemy Mambas, and we have 3 Minotaurs remaining. But now up with the flanking section of our tank column. We're moving past a street, and we find a 20mm emplacement, which gets the drop on us. So what I do is I run forward, because I'm not going to be able to shoot it in time. So this tank's acting more of a scout. When you have a lot of corners, it's often good just to send a tank ahead to scout things out and run away if it starts getting shot, so that you can take its like wingman, I guess. Whip round the corner so that your gun's in a good firing solution, and shoot the emplacement before it gets us. It does get a hit on us, which is a bit annoying, softens up some armor in the front, but this tank's in fairly good shape, and then another emplacement is down, but we took some pretty serious damage on one of those tanks. Anyway, with the tank not... the remaining tank of the 3 that were kind of in the lower part of the city, we're driving a little bit, and we notice a wheel arch. Yes, we found another tank, luckily, before either of us start shooting, and it's behind the emplacement, so I'm going to move these tanks up to kind of move down and converge on it so that we have a numbers advantage. Again, that is the advantage of having your tanks kind of distributed around the city. Anyway, so yeah, again, we bring these 2 down into this street, so we're about to have a firing solution on the tank we've just spotted. We're going to send this guy to race forward? No, we're going to send this guy to race forward, distract him, get him in the side. We'll send the other guy down to put some fire down on him from afar. And hopefully he'll be killed quick enough. Now my gun starts turning the other way, and I notice another tank, but we just forget about that for now and dispatch this guy. But we have found another tank right there. It looks like it's one of the ones that was damaged by strafing. But yes, we've taken down this guy fairly easily. Looks like we're just putting the final shots into him there, and we've taken minimal damage. One of the armor plates is missing from this tank, but we should be okay. Now we've just got to dispatch the tank we just saw on our right. I've moved into a slightly better position because it's tilted forward from where I strafed it, which means I can't really attack it from the front. So we're just going to go in from the side. It starts firing first, and I start firing. It looks like it's having trouble getting through that front plate, which is what we wanted. There's a bunch of explosions, but neither of them are dead, so now it's a race to reload. I almost move out into a different position, but then just kind of hold firm. I really should have moved another tank up at this point, but I just sort of didn't. It's having trouble again getting through that front plate. It's really thick because it's just like the full piece. But now it has been dislodged. We're both reloading again because we're both having serious trouble getting through. It opens up on me again. You can see a lot of the shells bouncing off, but we both get the kill shot at the same time. Both tanks are dead, and now it's 2-on-1. And we find the final one fairly quickly. It's the one that was really damaged in the strafing run, and we just destroy it before it even gets a look at us. So I guess the strafing was very successful, and that tank is dead without any more losses. Now we just have to find the final 40mm emplacement, which we do while driving around fairly fast, because I was feeling pretty good at this point, because, well, it was looking like I'd won. And then we just open up on it, get the shots in first, pretty nice. It does get a shot behind us, ripping off half the back of ripping off most of the back of our tank, but we have destroyed it and the battle is won. We'll repair these tanks and all will be well. Yes, Osiris Bay is ours once more, and hopefully will stay ours. Anyway, not so good news in the south. We have a rather large naval invasion incipient, and all we can send is, well, what we can launch this turn. So I decided a battleship should do the job. Maybe there's a shittier way I could have done this, but I don't think so without aircraft, so we're sending in a battleship. It gets its first shots off. All of the guns are at the front because I'm not expecting this to survive. Here I'm just opening the cheat menu because I'm going to need it for setting up Penguin's aircraft carrier. That's all that is. But yes, all of my ships were destroyed last time. There were only, I think, 4 or something, but basically Penguin's fleet ripped them apart without any losses, and yeah, not super jazzed about that. We fire some more shots out of these 15-inch guns, but they miss annoyingly, which is super lame. And then we're just here setting off the aircraft. I actually didn't need to do this because turns out that they didn't have any bombs on them, so they wouldn't actually aid Penguin in any way. But I just did because I think the carriers would have probably glitched out if I hadn't done it anyway. So we're just going to dispatch all of these useless attackers and maybe even destroy them. But probably not, because we are focused on trying to just do some damage. We can't really stop this invasion of Asia's front, but what we can do is just kind of just stab back, just run in there, do some damage, you know. Just spit on the Cruelans, because we're not going to let them come in here without a fight. No, we have sent out the USS Carthenia, the biggest battleship ever constructed. Actually about the same size as my last one, because it's the same shell. But yes, it has 8 4-inch guns, which are dual mount, so it's actually 16 4-inch guns, 9 15-inch guns, and a shit ton of anti-aircraft guns. We fire off another salvo, and it does, and this one actually does land, I think, on the USS, is it the KUS Fubar? Fucked up beyond all recognition, I think is what that means, so that's about right. We get a good hit on the Fubar, as fucked up beyond all recognition. Annoyingly, it's not fucked up beyond all recognition, it's just got a hole in the side, but another salvo would surely sink it. I'm taking hits, but you can see it's not even heating up my armor, so I'm feeling pretty good that the aircraft have no bombs, the 7-inch shells can't get through this armor, and I am already laying waste to one of the ships. I was actually even thinking that I might stop this invasion. I was wrong. Because there is a huge amount of fire going in here, and it may not be disrupting the armor, but it is starting to disrupt the internals of the ship, which is a bit of a shame. I wanted to see this from the air a little bit, but there's just a smoke ball where my ship is, because it's taking a huge amount of fire. You can see the rate of fire on this is ridiculous, because there's an AA cruiser over there, and there's a bunch with 7-inch guns, which are actually turning out to be pretty effective, and I'm taking a lot of hits. And there's some explosions happening, but it's looking okay for now. And I was, again, feeling really good. We fire off another salvo, but I don't think that hits, which is really annoying. None of these hit, which is a bit of a shame. And then something explodes. I think it's the magazine, and she slips below the waves. I was not expecting this. This was a massive shock. I was like, what the fuck? And it just gets ripped apart, because now they're shooting at deck armor. So we didn't even sink anything. Now, annoyingly, I did do this one other time, but because I didn't launch the aircraft from the aircraft carriers, the carriers exploded, so I did it again. And in that one, I did manage to sink the Fubar, but not today. So we don't even really strike back hard enough, which made me really sad. So yeah, it looks like the Cruelans will roll into Asia's front. But where they will not roll into, well, I guess ships don't really roll. They kind of sail. They will sail into Asia's front, but where they will not be sailing or rolling into is Osiris Bay. Yes, we kind of gave Asia's front up by not using all of our aircraft to fight back against the Creolans. I'm not sure I could have even stopped them if I had. I was thinking maybe submarine the shit out of them and then send in a bunch of aircraft, but I don't think that would have killed everything, so they could have still taken it. But yeah, it looks like the south is lost. But the north is secure. We gave a lot today to secure Osiris Bay. We gave the life of 6 pilots, 3 tank commanders. That's about it, but still, is a pretty bloody battle to take this back. But now there are 2 tanks which have been fixed with the supply unit. There is a 40mm emplacement and 3 20mm emplacements, and the fighter has been moved here. So there's a pretty good defense here, which should at least soften up a Corolla invasion, making the defense of it next time much easier. But what is left of our navy, just 3 cruisers, is on its way back to Osiris Fortress, because we need to start hunkering down. I've been a little bit too attacky. There's been a comparison to a certain authoritarian leader who wasn't a big fan of Jews. But no, I have been a little too attacky. So we're moving these ships back now, because if they tried to head down to Asia's front to do some kind of counterattack, they would probably be ripped apart by aircraft. So they will be defending Osiris Fortress, making it impossible to take it, because there will just be too much AA fire. And yeah, it's a pretty dark day for Cathenia. Looks like we will lose Asia's front. We lost a lot taking back Osiris Fortress. And the USS Cathenia was sunk with less fight than I know it could have given, which actually really sucks. Like, I know it's a game, but I really, really wanted to do some damage. I have to say, I think I destroy a lot more units than Penguin does, but he seems to be tactically outmaneuvering me, and it's looking like it's all coming to a head now. And talking of retreating, we are sending our 2 centaurs back towards Rockdale, one of our cities that may need defending once Asia's front is taken. I could have sent these up to Asia's front to contest, to stop them taking the base straight away, but I imagine they just would have been bombed. I think these will do a much better job defending Rockdale. Yes, so it looks like we're on a bit of a defensive now, and I probably sound super melancholy, but today we have struck back. Honestly, I wish it was a little harder navally, but on the ground, I think we did pretty well. We've destroyed the Corollan Air Force today, we've destroyed the ground forces, we've taken back Osiris Fortress. So yeah, we can really fight pretty hard, but Penguin does seem to have a mastery of tactically outmaneuvering me, which is a little annoying. But anyway, this is the end of the video. I hope you'll come back for next episode, where we'll be pushing back against the Creollans and taking back Cathenia, taking back our birthright, taking back our land. Because this is Cathenia, god damn it, and we will not be oppressed by Creollans. But anyway, this is the end of the video. And if you want to go check out a couple more videos, there's my latest episode of Subscriber Designs. There's also my most recent episode of Road to Colonization, in which we find out Jeb's a traitor. There's also links to my Twitter, Twitch, and Patreon in the description if you're interested. But as always, I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been KSP with Tape. I will see you next time.